Shalom. Welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar. We have a very special guest with us, Mr. Jim Clevenson. Jim, welcome to the Jewish View.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you also have a Jewish publication. I'm Jewish TV. You're the Jewish newspaper. Jim is the publisher of the Jewish World. That is the only Jewish paper in the whole Capital District and even around in Vermont and Western New York, whatever. But really today we brought him down not as a Jewish expert, but actually from talking about an interesting book that came out called The Secret. We already had one show. We're going to talk about a different aspect. There it is. Jim's holding it up, The Secret. He's going to a little bit review it and criticize it again. And I'm going to bring in the Jewish idea of how it pertains. So, and there's been a lot of books anyway, you know, like criticizing The Secret. You told me to read The Secret to be on the Jewish View, you know, so I would be able to be knowledgeable about it, but obviously I didn't read all the other books about it. So just talk about The Secret and, you know, what it's trying to say and what you would maybe contradict it by saying something different.
All right, well, The Secret. I'm not an expert on it either, but it's an attractive book because it offers the possibility of changing your life by changing your thinking. And we'll get into some of the subtleties of that and why it's maybe not as simple and easy as it sounds. But apparently some people do have success changing their thoughts, changing their emotional frequency, so to speak, and changing the physical circumstances of their lives. I think the big appeal to these positive thinking philosophies is that you can become wealthy and solve your problems and so forth by changing how you think. The means of doing that, I think, is a little trickier than the way they present it, because I think one of the keys is if you want to change how you think, you've got to really believe that you can. I mean, on the surface, you can start thinking positive thoughts. You can start thinking, I'm a millionaire. You can start thinking, money is coming to me, and you can actually, you know, concentrate in those ways, and you can use those kinds of sentences as frequently they're called affirmations or like prayers or mantras or something that you repeat over and over again. And I've read in various places that a practice you can use is, say, you know, writing it down hundreds and hundreds of times. And you know, this is a practice that somehow can change the world, can change your life. The question is, I guess, one question that arises for me is it spiritually legitimate to do these kinds of things? Maybe you want to comment on that.
Well, you know, of course, I talk about...
As a man of the cloth.
Well, of course, say from the Jewish point of view, but I think a little bit, I mean, we always say prayer. Obviously, there is God, and prayer is intrinsic. It's part of any religion. It's surely part of Judaism. And basic faith is that if you have a real need, then go to God and ask for it. Obviously, that doesn't contradict the idea to go for it. You know, oh, I need money. Oh, I'm just going to sit here and pray the whole day. Why don't you go out and get a job? You know, look in the newspaper for want ads and, you know, go for it. So they're both right, though. They both need it, obviously. And people don't care about God. Well, it's up to me. I'm going to get a college degree. I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to go do a job. What did God do for me? I didn't need God here. And other people, not that many is the other way, just saying, well, I'll just pray and things will get better. And, well, you know, you got to do something also. You can't just pray. So you need both.
Well, actually, there's an interesting case, right, in the movie Ushpizing.
You're right.
Where
explain a little.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a movie about some people in Israel and a very poor man and wife preparing for the holiday of Sukkot, and he needs money to get some of the ritual accoutrements for the holiday. He has no money, and he says, his wife says, what are you going to do about it? And he says, well, I better ask Hashem. I better pray. And she says, well, get your butt out there and pray. So he goes out, and he actually does this. He prays very, very intently. and a miracle happens. Now, this isn't a movie, of course, but the question is, okay, does this happen, and how often? You know.
Well, it could happen, and you have to have that faith that it happens. But like I say, the proper way is prayer, being spiritual. God help you on one hand. The other hand, you have to do what you have to do, and get a job, be qualified for the job, go to the job, be a good worker at the job, etc. Do a good job. But then also, hey, God, because like I say, we're in a recession now. People say, hey, I was a perfectly good worker, and now I lost my job. Hey, I was jogging all the time. I kept my health, and I had a heart attack. And you see some guys totally overweight, and they're just going along. So I'm not saying you should go jogging or follow the doctor's advice, of course, nutrition and exercise, et cetera, et cetera. You should do that. That's what I'm saying. But together, you can't say, well, then I know I'll be healthy. There is God. There's the unknown. He is helping you along with what you have to do. So you have to have both. That's the idea. But even saying that let's say, for example, you were talking about money. I want $1 million. I really want that $1 million, and I'm going to pray. Fine, you tell me there's a Jewish God. I'll pray my heart out. Fine, I'll do whatever you want. God, you want me to pray? I'll do that too. But it don't go. And I know people. Oh, I didn't win the lottery, and it didn't go. Rabbi, come on, what happened here? You told me pray, and you said there's a big God in the world that could easily, surely he can have you win if he wants. He's God. I mean, he can have you win the lottery. Big deal for him. And I did everything you told me, and I didn't win, no $1 million. It didn't make it. So together with that, you can carry that with other instances also, prayer, and people do pray their heart out when it comes to health. People are very, very sick. They're dying.
Or their children.
Yeah, so, and they're totally sincere, and they're praying their hearts out, and it don't go. It don't go. People then pass away, and, it just doesn't happen. So sometimes it does happen, and those are beautiful stories. But, we got to be honest and realistic. Sometimes it doesn't go. So now what are you going to conclude? Well, maybe people say there's no more God. And, people have done that. You told me to pray. I prayed. It didn't go. Well, this shows there's no God. The whole thing is baloney, what you're telling me. There is no God helping you out. Or but on the other hand, of course, that's not a correct conclusion, surely in Judaism, or I'm sure any other religion, that on the other hand, you have to accept. See, that's what I'm saying. It's a little Pollyannish, the book, The Secret. Like you were saying, if you just want it, it's going to happen. And, I'm hesitant to say that. I don't put any guarantees on anything. A person, the most righteous people, the greatest people, the Rebbe guy had a stroke. The head Lubavitch Rebbe is a very, very holy man, helped millions of people, the nicest, greatest person in the world, and millions, literally, of people were praying for him, and he didn't get better. He passed away after 2 years. He was incapacitated by a stroke. So now what do you conclude? So you got to keep moving on. You don't know. Ultimately, whatever we want, so maybe you shouldn't have the $1 million. Maybe it wasn't a good thing. Maybe whatever's in God's plan. So don't ask me, because I don't know. You should have $1 million. I wish everybody should have the $1 million if you ask me, but I'm not God. And it doesn't happen. A person wants it. I'll just say, well, just in our little puny minds, which they are compared to the God's head, we can't understand these things. So that would be, like I say, it's a little Pollyanna show. If you just want, you'll get, and just from experience, just because you want. Surely it does happen. If people have very strong willpower and they do a lot, prayers do help, on the other hand, to be on a positive note. And it's good to be on a positive note, but I just don't want to put any, if you're going to ask that, guarantees on anything. And this book kind of doesn't say those words, because they can't say guarantee, but on the other hand, they're saying, oh, if you just want, if you really want, this is the secret, you'll get. And I wouldn't put my stamp on such a thing like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they would say. They might make the argument that if you prayed or affirmed, or however they want to put it, and didn't receive what you thought you would, maybe you didn't really believe it in your bones. I don't know. I don't know what the Jewish attitude on that would be. I think the Jewish response might be more along the lines of, well, you don't, because Judaism brings in God, whereas the secret people don't. Although they do talk about gratitude to the universe, but they don't really talk about God as a personality. And I don't know whether personality is quite the right word, but it seems like the Jewish notion of God is that God has a personality, he has an intention, he, it, whatever, the supreme source of life has an intention for the world to develop in certain ways. So if you accept that idea, then I suppose you can also accept the idea that, well, you know, maybe what I want isn't the best thing for me. Maybe there's something better that, you know, that the source of life has in mind for me or for the world, and maybe what I want doesn't fit into that. You know, I don't think that would be a satisfactory answer for a skeptic or an atheist, because it puts something outside the realm of rationality, which I guess God has to be. I mean, if God is infinite, God is certainly beyond our ability to understand.
Well, of course, what you're saying, I mean, you just have as a given for a lot of people. It's not, if I don't get it, then, you know, it shows, wait a minute, just because you don't get it, you're a human being, you know, so don't, I mean, you made a simple statement, which I totally agree with, but a lot of people just wouldn't agree with. If you know, it's not good for me and I don't see it, you know, then it doesn't exist. I don't understand how this could happen. So therefore, like I say, therefore there's no God, you know.
So for the religious person, it becomes a matter of, I guess, what we call in English faith. In Hebrew, we have two words, right? Emunah and bitachon, which maybe you would want to explain how they're slightly different concepts, right? How they would relate to such circumstances that people find themselves in.
Yeah, well, emunah, just for everybody, a faith, and bitachon is more trust. Faith is more like in the past, that you believe, like something, you know, you prayed and prayed and it didn't go, like we were given an example. I have total faith that what was is good, and that's all. Bitachon is for the future, trust is for the future, that you can go forward with it. Again, with money is the more important idea of saying, well, I'm poor, so whatever happened, you know, I'm content with it, was all for the best. Oh, for the best, so keep on being poor. You just said it's the best thing, you know, it's good. No, tomorrow or right now, I'm going to go out and try to make some money, you know, making my life better. I have trust things are going to turn around today, tomorrow, the next day. So that's what would be more past. But it's a hard idea. Like I say, you can, well, if it's good, you know, it's good to be poor, well, keep on being poor. You know, you just said it's good, but it's good for the past. But for now on, I want to make it better. Oh, you want it better? Then you didn't like the past. No, I accept, you know, so it's hard for people to get that balance, I know, and it's important. But you have that, like we were talking about the rational and the irrational. You pray to God, but like I said, you have to go out get a job, which is, you know, rational logic. How do you get a job? You know, get qualified, look in the paper, go for a good interview, pass the interview, and do the job, you know, come to work on time, you know, et cetera, and do the good job. And, you know, well, if I did a normal, what do I need God for? You know, or if God, you say, is so great, he could do anything, what do I have to go through all this rigmarole of going to work? But, you know, again, that balance, that's where Judaism comes in, with that balance, the spiritual and the physical. They have to work together. It's a hard thing for anybody. It's not, there's no automatic that, okay, I got it, because you're always balancing in your life. But, I mean, again, The Secret, at least, again, I appreciate it where it does say people have to, you know, you can go for it. You know, go dream a little bit. Because ultimately, I mean, Judaism says you should dream. There's the Messiah, there's a perfect world. You know, have a little bit of a dream. But again, don't dream too much, because you have to work on a very practical level, or just helping your next door neighbor. You know, you want a perfect world, well, why don't you do something? You know, help your next door neighbor with a favor.
On the faith side, let's say a person doesn't have any or doesn't have much, what could they do to develop more?
Well, prayer is a very big idea that you understand focusing on something that is higher than yourself. Like when we were talking about that the world isn't about only intelligence, which of course there's so much of that, so much knowledge, but God is higher than that. So you focus in, it's not a matter, well, if I don't understand it and I don't like it, it must be no good. Hey, there's God and there's just a higher level of intelligence that you may not understand. Well, not may not, you don't understand. I mean, sometimes you do. That's why I say may not. Mm-hmm. Certain things you understand why things are the way they are, but many times you don't. The Holocaust, I get that a million times. Just anything in people's life. Why did that person die young? I mean, constantly. I mean, I'm getting constant questions as clergymen, like, as a rabbi, where's God now? And I can't answer those questions, but that's where ideas saying, well, not that I know too much in the world either. How much knowledge does any person know? And surely, how much God on a higher intelligence. So that humility, the understanding the humility plus the super rational idea that God is above us helps a person saying, all right, there's certain things I just don't understand, I just don't get, but we'll just keep moving on. There must be, but again, God's in charge of the world, so it's not just some kind of crazy world that's just going on like throwing dice, like Albert Einstein, just throwing dice around. That was the luck of the draw. What can you do? There is a reason for it, and that's where faith comes in, that you understand God's in charge of the world. He has a higher intelligence, surely, than any other human being, to say the least, and there must be some good to it. I don't understand it, but a lot of things I don't understand.
So let's take the model from the Secret, where they say, ask for what you want, believe that you're going to get it, and receive it. And I'm just wondering if we could apply that to a situation where a person wants spiritual enlightenment. How would that work? Or would it work?
I think it believes, again, the book doesn't ever, I think, use once the word God. I mean, it does say work, believe in a higher authority. Again, belief would be, you can believe in what? You can believe in yourself also. A lot of people talk about that. But you're right, that's, I think, an important idea that you can go for it. It doesn't have to, the way it is the way it is. You can't do anything about it. A lot of people live a philosophy that way, so I appreciate when he says, ask for it, go for something, shoot for a higher ideal. That's very, very much a Jewish idea. Again, change the world. I mean, here, change yourself also. Change yourself, change the world. You don't have to. It is what it is. What can you do about it? Yeah, that's just not a Jewish idea. So that's where I appreciate it, and I just put into tuning up believe, not just believe in yourself or believe in an ideal or believe in an idea, the $1 million, but believe in God, that he's going to help you. Then, like I say, work for it also. Maybe I tune that up also. Maybe that's what he means by receive. I know being proper to be able to get it. In your inner heart, if people really, really want a little bit of a harsher idea when people say, I want, do they really want? Do they really, want to change? And do they want really the $1 million? Or that's what I'm saying. It's easier to stay. That's, I guess my whole job really be a rabbi. I want people to change. I want people to do better. But that's trying to get them out of their cocoon. And people say, I'd like things better. Do they really want things to be better or not? It's very difficult, I think, for people to change. One rabbi 100 years ago, Rabbi Salanter is his name, and now, just to put in context, the Talmud is very difficult. And even for the people, there's a Daf Yomi, it's called, you learn one folio, one leaf of Gemara a day, which is a big job. It still takes 7 years to go through the whole Gemara. So it's and it's not just reading a novel, and things like that. You shoot through a mystery book. It's very, every line you have to work through, whatever, just to give a little bit of an idea of what the Talmud is. And the Talmud, like on my shelf, if I put on a shelf, it would be that big, literally. I mean, hardly I can pick a one volume. They're big, and it's big like this and wide like this. So he, on that context, he says it's easier to learn the entire Talmud, which, like I just say, put in context, that it's very, very difficult, than to change one character. It was 100 years ago he said this. So, you have to appreciate, that's why I say ask, do they really want to change? And I think that, I don't want to guarantee anything, I mean, like I said before, just I really, really want the $1 million, because I know people really want a person to get better, and they don't get better. So, I don't want to say that, because then they'll say, oh, see, the whole thing's baloney. I really wanted, and it didn't happen. On the other hand, there is this idea of asking, or I'd say praying and believing it's going to happen. Of course, I tune it up and doing something about it too, and be able to, do you truly want it to be different? Or you like just going in your same rut? So, I mean, it's a harsher word, because you're saying, well, the person you really say, yeah, I really want to change, and maybe they don't. But it's hard. I mean, I can't say, I don't know what's in a person's heart. But sometimes I think, do they really want to change? Do they really want to be different? So, that you can't scientifically categorize. Say, well, I asked, I didn't get. So, do you really want to change yourself and change your lifestyle? It's very difficult, that's what I'm saying. I think it's a major idea. I think with belief, which I appreciate this book. I mean, there's counter arguments again. You're the one who said about there's other books written about it, and it probably not complimentary, just saying that, well, they found something wrong. Main idea would be that, where's God in all this? I mean, they say believe, but on the other hand, believe in what? Believe in an ideal, believe in the $1 million, believe in, the goodness of the universe, believe in the United States of America that you can make $1 million if you want to. I mean, which they're all correct, but on the other hand, do you truly believe, in God that could help, and that's an outside factor. So that's important.
There are religious teachings that say that whatever you ask for, if you truly believe, that you will receive. But I don't know what that means.
Well, see, it's half right. I mean, like we say, there is prayer, and if you're really sincere, you should really come to Hashem. But I mean, you can't say that. I mean, because a lot of people, like I say, you see people.
Would you say that past lives have an effect?
There's so many factors. You're right. That's Kabbalistic Jewish mysticism. That and there are stories about that. We only have a few more minutes, so I won't get into it, but the entire story. But at least the general idea is why they say, why does a child die? They can't say for their sins, because they didn't do anything wrong. You get an older person, you can a little rationalize, well, he wasn't perfect, he did something wrong. All right. At least you say something like that. There's some truth to it, of course, because they did something wrong. A child, so now you can't, you can't use that logic. So the most time use the reincarnation. What did they do in the previous life? So they were imperfect in the previous life, so they come into this world and to suffer and to die, and that helped them in their previous lifetimes. It's a Kabbalistic idea. But that's what I'm saying, we can't know. You can't say, well, why is a child dying? What did he do? You're right, didn't do anything. But so we can know. I'm not a holy person, maybe the Rebbe would be, doesn't say those kind of stories, not Baal Shem Tov. I mean, you have 250 years ago mystical rabbis who have said those things, so we say, well, at least it's a possibility. There's these ideas, past lives, higher ideals. And sometimes, the struggle is an important thing also to challenge. Why aren't things getting better? Like I brought out with the Rebbe, past suffering and is through a stroke for 2 whole years and passing away. Says, well, maybe he wants to get everybody to pray. That was something that's sufficient in its own right, that people started praying. Who's to know? You never know. That's what I'm saying. In our limited ideas, who's to know? And I mean, we always say that on the right thing also. Who's better? The guy gives $1,000 to give a guy the $1. Well, the $1,000 he wrote off on his taxes, and it was like nothing to him. He got his name on the plaque. They give $1. You know, he have $10 in his pocket. He gave away $1. So how are we to judge anything good, like I say, or even the bad things? We can only try. I mean, we can't just sit back saying, okay, we can't understand. I say it goes back and forth. In our effort, hey, someone's suffering, the kid's sick, go out there and pray your heart out, or do a commandment, do a mitzvah, you know, and there's the merit to help them out, give some charity. Fine, you know, there's certain things you can do. Obviously, get a good doctor, that goes without saying. I mean, some people wouldn't even say that. You know, do what you have to do. On the other hand, you know, even if we did spiritually, physically, you know, everything we could do, the best we could do, and maybe granted, don't help. So it always happens. So that's where the faith, like you were asking, faith comes in. There's a higher ideal. Reincarnation, yes, that is possibility. Maybe he's there to make everybody pray. That was how many people prayed for, and how many did commandments on behalf of that sick person. So you could just go for it and just deal with it, and you know, the results, it's really not so much up to us.
I'm going to just push on this point a little more and see if there's a correspondence between some of the prayer book liturgy and the secret procedures. As I said, they advocate ask, believe, and receive. So the assumption is that you ask and it's going to happen. And in the daily prayers, in the Shemona Esrei section, you have a number of different prayers, many of which are supplications asking for something, and then the paragraph will conclude with a bracha that is actually put in the present tense as if it's happening. I'm thinking actually of the one, Rofei Cholim.
Yeah, well, just translating to blessing, a bracha is a blessing, and Rofei Cholim, there's one of the prayers, the 19 prayers that we supplicate the Almighty, is just for healing. So you're that positive that's going to happen. There is a trust. We only have a few more seconds over, Jim. I know that things are going smoothly so fast. We're having such a interesting discussion, but let's end up on that positive note. Let's have that trust, that belief, and go for it, that everything will be good and everybody should be healthy. We'll give a blessing, healthy and wealthy. And I think wise usually is the third idea, but I think you need a little wisdom to get healthy and wealthy. That should be the first one.
That's
so
the
thank
whole
you
point.
very much, Jim, for rational reflections. Anybody wants to talk about and get, we didn't talk about your rational reflections, but to talk about these different ideas and your own ideas, of course, not exactly what this book says, that they can call the number on the TV screen. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.